there was a government in Afghanistan in the 70s that had come to power off a military coup by officers who had been trained in the Soviet Union. It was a government that was sympathetic to the Soviet Union. The U.S. government under Jimmy Human Rights Carter and his national security advisor Zbigniew Brzezinski, and this is on record, Brzezinski admits it, they sent the CIA in to help train these mujahideen before the Soviets invaded. They went in to help destabilize this pro-Soviet government, hoping that the Soviets would come in militarily to prop up that government and get their legs broken in the process. And that did happen. So Brzezinski, to this day, God bless his soul, a special place in hell reserved for him, he justifies it, saying, well, it helped bring down the Soviet Empire. Well, duh, what's the lesson for us? If the Soviets, 10 years invading Afghanistan, could not beat these mujahideen, people think that we're going to go in there and in a year or two clean these guys out and put an end to it and not suffer the same kind of fate. It brought down the communist empire in Moscow, that war, that 10 years war in Afghanistan. So if you look at U.S. policy in the region, what you see is a willingness to manipulate, side with fascists, train death squads, kill people, in order to maintain access, profitable access to that oil. So for 25 years, after the U.S. government overthrew Mossadegh in Iran in 1953, for 25 years loaded up the Shah of Iran, the king, with all this U.S. weaponry, trained his secret police, etc. He gets overthrown in the late 70s by Khomeini. So now you got a guy who's got all the U.S. weapons who says the U.S. is the devil. Ooh, so then how are you going to break the legs of Iran, Iraq, Saddam Hussein? From 80 to 88, the two Reagan administrations, 80 to 88, is the Iran-Iraq war. And the U.S. government supported Iraq. Saddam Hussein was the largest recipient of U.S. food aid credits, allowed him to buy a lot of military stuff, Scud missile launchers, etc. Break the legs of the Iranian economy. Once you've accomplished that, then you got Iraq. And the reason it's Iran and Iraq is because those are the two big regional powers that if they got together could walk into Saudi Arabia and take over those oil fields, and wouldn't be much the U.S. could do about it. It also explains why the U.S. left Saddam in power and doesn't want democracy in Iraq, because if you had elections in Iraq, you would get probably a Shia government, because you got a Shia plurality, a Sunni minority, and a Kurd minority. So you'd probably get a Shia or a Shia-Kurd coalition government. If that government formed a coalition with the Shia government in Iran, that alliance of Iran and Iraq could just walk into the Saudi oil fields and take over that oil. So it was this kind of chess piece mentality of, we're going to manipulate this. So people say, oh, well, these Islamic fundamentalists, they don't believe in separation of church and state. Yeah, that's a real problem because, most people in the world have sort of accepted that principle of separation of church and state. Who violated the principle of church and state first in the Middle East? It was the U.S. government foreign policy. The monarchy in Saudi Arabia, who are heavily allied with these right-wing Islamic clerics as a way to control the population and justify their rule, and with the state of Israel, the Zionist state of Israel. Again, violation of separation of church and state. So eventually, if you violently suppress the secular nationalists like Jamal Abdel Nasser and Mossadegh and people like that, and you violently suppress them, eventually political pressure is going to find an outlet, and in the contemporary period it finds that outlet in Islamic fundamentalism. But these fundamentalists represent maybe 10% of all Muslims. But by elevating them to warrior status, by framing September 11th as war, and having it be a war between the United States with Bush, he said it again today, and the other day he says it over and over again, you're either with us or you're with the terrorists, just like they did in the Cold War. You're either with capitalism or you're with communism. You're either with undemocratic corporations or undemocratic communists. What that does is that elevates Osama bin Laden to superpower status. This is the best recruitment mechanism. Osama bin Laden is sitting in a cave right now going, excellent, excellent. He's just loving this because they wanted this response. Notice the Taliban released to the international media, this is a Nazi government, total control. They released to the international media the video of people in Afghanistan sacking the U.S. embassy, tearing it apart. They made sure those images got out. The first press conference they did after that, the Taliban guy said, America doesn't have the courage to invade us. It's like they were saying, come on, we dare you. Because what do they care if innocent civilians get killed? Those innocent civilians getting killed is the best recruiting mechanism they have for their stupid movement. Because they can go out amongst the 1.2 billion Muslims in the world and say, look at America, what they're doing. See, what we told you about those American infidels is true. And what they want to do is they want to destabilize that whole region. So you've got Arafat is in danger of being overthrown. The Egyptian government is in danger of being overthrown. The Jordanian monarchy is in danger of being overthrown. The Saudi monarchy is in danger of being overthrown. And the Pakistani government, military dictatorship, who now they call Musharraf a president. You know, he's a military guy who overthrew an elected government. Now the U.S. is in bed with him because it's convenient. All of these collaborator regimes are in danger of being overthrown because of the anti-U.S. sentiment that is being stirred up by the U.S. bombing campaign. So this is like total shooting yourself in the foot as a foreign policy. But nobody ever accused the Bush administration of being brilliant, so we shouldn't be surprised by this.